So this video is to go over the options for share settings in Google Drive documents. I'm going to go over how to share items in 4 different ways in Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, and Google Drawings. I've tried to narrow it down to 4 main ways of sharing, just because if you do not use the share setting on a regular basis, it can be confusing. There are a lot of options, and sometimes it's hard to know which option is the best for a particular situation. So I'm going to go over those 4 options, or those 4 types of situations. I'm also going to talk a little bit about Google Team Drives in comparison to sharing. That has been a question that people have had for me since we've started using team drives here at the elementary and the high school, as to why would you use a team drive over doing share settings, and I'll have some answers for that as well. So I want to start off by talking about just the basic level of sharing. Up here in the right-hand corner of any document, whether it's a Google Doc, slide, sheet, or drawing, you'll see a blue share button. And by default, documents are private only to that user. So when I hover my mouse over this little blue button right here, I can see that it says private only to me. When I give it a click, it gives me a dialog box with an option to enter email addresses. This will pull from your email contacts, so you can simply start to type the name of the user that you're looking for. I'm going to click test user 1. On the right-hand side, choose their permission setting. So I can choose can edit, which is the default, can comment, and can view. This is one area that you need to be diligent about selecting and deciding before you click send. There is an option to go back in and change the permission for that user if you'd like to later on. I'll show you that in a little bit. But this is probably the number one mistake or thing that I see people forget before sharing something with another user. In the blog that we're discussing today, I do have this infographic that explains the different permission levels for view, comment, and edit. So you can see view has the least restrictive or the most restrictive amount of settings, where can edit has the least restrictive. If you give someone the option to edit, they can do everything that you do, including add collaborators to the document. The only thing they cannot do is actually delete the document itself, because they are not the owner. I'll show you about changing ownership in just a moment. So make sure you take a look at this document here so you can understand what is all involved in those different permission settings. All right. I'm going to add one more person. Test user 2. Can add a note. And down here in the right-hand corner is the option to notify people. That is on by default, and we'll leave that on. Simply click send. And now this is shared with 2 people. There's a little notification up here that you can see that as well. In case you didn't know, the other place to share an item is under File, and this first option right here says Share. Now when I click on this and I go into Advanced, I can see right here it is shared with test user 1 and test user 2. If I want to change anything, which I'm going to go over those options also, I can click Advanced. So in this middle box right here, where it's showing who has access, I can see that it's set to specific people. I am the owner. Underneath, I can see test user 1 is set to edit files directly. Test user 2 is set to edit files directly. Once you've given permission to these people to access this document, you now have the opportunity to change individual permissions for your users. Maybe I want to leave test user 1 on edit, but test user 2, I'm deciding I just want this person to view only. So now I can see that they both have different permissions. When I hover next to that button, I can see a clock, which offers me the option to set an expiration date for this user. So maybe for test user 2, I want to say their access to this document expires in 7 days, 30 days, or I can give it a custom date. I can set them for the end of the year and click save changes. There is an option here to cancel the expiration, so maybe I want to turn that off. I'll go ahead and give it a send, and there we go. Test user 1 will have access to this document indefinitely. Test user 2 will expire at the end of the year. You also have the option of changing ownership. So even though I created this document, I may say, I no longer want to be the owner of this document and I want to change my permission, or I want to completely remove myself from this document. There have been times where I have worked with teachers and students. We've created a document maybe in my account or their account, and then at the end of our training realized that we really want the other person to be the owner. So maybe I worked with Angie to help her with her fundraiser flyer. We did that in my account, but that really needed to belong to her, and there is no other reason for me to even access that document anymore. So if that's the case, you can click this little drop down arrow, and the first item at the top is to choose them as the owner. You can click that the test user 1 will now be the owner. It defaults me to edit. I can change my own permission. So in this situation, I can then just click this X right here and remove myself. I will no longer see it in my drive, and the people that are now the owner are free to do with it whatever they'd like. So I'm going to not do that for now. I want to keep myself as the owner. A couple other things I want to point out in this dialog box. You obviously have the ability to enter more names right here, give them a notification, things like that. You also down here at the bottom have 2 other owner settings. This first one is prevent editors from changing access and adding new people. So maybe you have allowed someone to be an editor. You do want them to collaborate with you, but you don't want them to give other people access. You just want it to stay between the 2 of you or to the group of people you've selected. You would go ahead and give that a check. This other one is disable options to download, print, and copy for commenters and viewers. So for this option, anybody that is set to view, you would turn off the ability for them to download, print, and copy. Maybe it's just that you want them to look at the document only. We would go ahead and give this a click, and then that would turn off the option for them to download this, print this, or copy. This would be more in consideration for maybe any copyright permissions that you are concerned with if you would start to share this maybe on a bigger, more public level. In general, here at school, these are not 2 things that we usually have to worry about, so I will uncheck them and select Done. Now when I go to the account for one of the documents that I've shared it to, come over here to test user 2, go to the drive. The recipient of this document will initially find it in their shared with me location. So if someone shares something with you, this is where you need to go. Shared with me is not a place that is intended to be a workable space per se. When you think of shared with me, I want you to consider it or think of it or treat it like a mailbox. When you go home at the end of the day and get your mail, it is a place for you to see what people have sent to you. And then you sort through it and you decide, am I going to keep it? Am I going to trash it? Is it something I'm going to save so I can work on later? This is kind of how you need to approach shared with me. Do not try to organize it. Things will sit here and pile up, and that's just how it is. That's how it is intended. I know some people have some OCD over this and feel like this is something they want to clean out or they want to somehow try to organize. If you really feel like you need to clean it out, the best thing you can do is drag the items that you want to keep over to your My Drive. If you have a folder, you can drop it in a folder if you want it that way, or you just drop it in My Drive. Okay, and then it's there. So don't come back over here and try to organize this or make folders over here or anything like that. All right, you just want to move it to your drive. That is something that you're going to use. You'll access it from now on in your drive. If you do have documents in here that you are never going to use or someone shared with you, you can give it a right click and choose remove, and it will remove it. So if you feel like you really have to itch that scratch to clean things up, You can go ahead and do it that way. So back over here in my drive, you can now see here is the document that I had shared with this user. All right, let's move on to the next type of, sharing, which is sharing with a larger group of people. And for this, we're going to use the option to get a shareable link. I'm going to come back up here to this share button, and in the dialog box that popped up, I can see up here in the right-hand corner that I have the option to get shareable link. So right here, give it a click. This is for the instance when you want to share something with a large group of people. Now, that being said, we are lucky here at Margaretta. We have the high school certificated, high school, margarettaschooldistrict.com, the elementary one, and the elementary certificated. So we have that opportunity to share with a large group already. And these are the ones I'm talking about right here, elementary certificated. When I click that, I see this little group of people icon that tells me that this is a group email. However, in most places or areas, they don't have this sort of thing that we have set up here at our domain. Or there may be an instance when you want to share this with a large group of people that is in your contacts. So for instance, I have created a contacts group in my email called 5th grade. If I start to type in 5th grade, I can see right here, it's going to share immediately with 3 teachers. Okay, so I do have that set up. If you don't have that set up, using the Get Shareable link is the best way to share with a large group of people. It's going to give you a link that you can copy and paste into your email, into Hangouts, into a text message, what have you. And I guess what I want to make sure everybody understands before we continue on with this Get Shareable link idea is every document in Google Drive has its own web address. So when I look up here at the top of my document in the URL bar, I can see this long string of letters and numbers. This is a specific web address for this document. Docs, sheets, slides, drawings, and folders in Google Drive all have their own web address. And so we're going to see how we can share this web address with others so they can view, edit, comment, what have you, for large groups of people. All right, so back down here in our dialog box, I can see once I clicked Get Shareable Link, it defaulted to anyone at Margaretta Local Schools can view. When you select this permission level, this means that a person has to have a Margaretta Local Schools Google account to view this document. They will not be able to see it. It will prompt them to sign in after they've signed into their Google account. So you can't share this, if this is how it's set, you can't share it with somebody over at Port Clinton City Schools because they don't have a Margaretta account. All right, it's going to prompt them to sign in before they can view it. There's also the option to change it to anyone at Margaretta Local Schools can edit, anyone at Margaretta Local Schools can comment, anybody at Margaretta Local Schools can view. So as I said, any of these settings, it will prompt the people to sign in with their Margaretta account before they can access it. If you are sharing this with somebody outside of the Margaretta School District or to the public in general, we're going to come down here to this More button, and here are some more options. Public on the web is the least restrictive. There's absolutely no restrictions on someone viewing this. It can be searched publicly on the internet. On anyone with the link it's not so much public on the internet, but it can be viewed by anybody who has that link. There is no sign-in required. Also, once again, Margaretta Local Schools sign-in is required for either of these settings, and then off would kind of just take you back to that basic start point. One thing I want to say with this public on anyone with the link, also understand that once you choose any of these, you have to decide down here at the bottom, can they view, can they edit, can they comment? Oftentimes when I have students share work with me to put on the student gallery for public viewing, this is the setting that I choose. It's on anyone with the link and that they can view only. So you're going to give it a save. copy the link. It's copied in the clipboard. Now you have the option to post it directly into an email. So I'm going to come over here to my email, compose a new email. And now in my to line, I can enter, maybe I have a group of contacts already created. Let's say I want to give this to 5th grade. I want to give this to 4th grade. And I also want to give it to, one person that I work with. Okay. Right click, paste the shared link address. And now this gives anybody in this email the option to access this drive however I configured it in the share settings. Okay, so let's go back to this document. Let's get out of here. Now let's move on to talking about the third way to get this document shared with somebody or given to them is email or download directly from the document. So up here in the left-hand corner under the File option, you can come down to Download As, and you have some options here of different file formats to download this document. We have the most popular would be the doc. So if you are in Sheets, Slides, it would obviously be Excel or PowerPoint, or just as a plain PDF. Please know that anytime you pull a document from Office, so a Word, an Excel, or PowerPoint, into Google, you can automatically convert it into a doc, slide, or sheet, but you always have the option to take it back to its original format. So as I'm showing you right here, you do have the option to convert this document, this Google Doc, back into a Microsoft Word document. I know some people have had concerns about that. When deciding to convert over to Google, it makes them a little nervous about what if it doesn't, what if I need to get it back to its original format. You always have that option right here. The other time that this would be handy is when you are getting this document to somebody who is not using Google. So maybe you are using Google for everything and you're sending it to a recipient, or you need to attach it in a Word format, or if you don't know, attach it as a PDF. PDFs can be opened by any computer, whether your recipient is using Google Docs or they're using Office still. PDF is a great way to go. Remember though, PDFs cannot be edited. So keep that in mind. If you choose the PDF format, it will pretty much be a view only for your recipient because PDFs are flattened documents that cannot be edited per se. See that in another blog. You also have the option to email as an attachment directly from the document. So you can select your file type, PDF or doc. Obviously, as I said, these are the two most popular. I'm going to choose PDF. In the To box, choose the email of the recipient. You can leave a little message and click Send, and it will go ahead and it will email that to your recipient as an attachment. So two really great settings right there to kind of give you more options for customizing your document to your recipient. The last kind of big idea or big way to share your document is to force a copy. I think this is such a valuable skill for people to understand because it can avoid a lot of mess later on down the road when it comes to sharing your documents with people that you want them to make their own copy first. So as we've all experienced in this district over the past couple of years, there have been times where we have received a document, maybe from a colleague or an administrator, and they ask us to make a copy first. And inevitably someone forgets. I know I've done it multiple times, and I start typing in the document and all of a sudden I realize, oh, this was shared with everybody in my building. And now I've completely edited the template that everybody else is supposed to be working on. And then I feel like a fool and I have to erase all of it or finagle my way through it. So to avoid some of that, if you create a document and you know you want to get it to somebody else and for them to make their own copy. So you're not collaborating. It's not something that you want to work on together. You want to get them their own copy. The best way to do that is to follow the shareable link directions that I just talked about. So come back up here to share. We already have our permission set. Get the shareable link. It says it's copied to the clipboard. When you go to your email, and I'll use this one that I already have pulled up. Let me delete my old link. Paste your email. Delete up through the ending where it says edit. Take that off and replace it with the word copy. Now this person, when they go to open this email, it will force them to make a copy. So let me show you that. Let me get these all out of here. Okay, I'm going to send this to my test user 3. Go ahead and give it a send. Now when I go to my email, I'm going to see an email from Amy Bogard. Here's the link. You do see a preview down here, but once test user 3 clicks on this link, right here it tells them they are forced to make a copy of their own. So when they do this, it will make a copy of your document and put it in their drive. Your copies are no longer linked. If they make a change, it does not change yours. If you make a change, it does not change theirs. So for example, I'm going to highlight this, turn my text bright red. This is my copy. When I go back and look at my original, I can see that it's still the same. Nothing has changed. So that force a copy skill is something I think really comes in handy, and it's something that we just need to remember when we want to get a template or something out to a group of people, but force them to make their own copy first. That's the best way to do that. All right, let's take a second and talk about sharing folders versus Team Drive. And also, before I move on, I'm going to show you this. This is the kind of visual that I've been working off of while I'm talking about this blog, and it's also in the blog post. Feel free to print it out for yourself, hang it in your classroom. These kind of 4 ways to share, it all explained out. So as I said earlier, individual, large groups getting a shareable link, emailing or downloading it, and then forcing a copy. Team drives. So I've had some people ask, why would you use a team drive over sharing a folder if I can share everything in a folder? While it is true that you can share everything that's in a folder and complete folders with other people, there are some limitations and some logisticals to consider. When you share a folder, you create a document, the person that creates it is the owner. So if I create a folder, I create documents, I'm the owner, and anybody I share it with, I have to individually put them in. I have to individually assign them permissions. And then if I leave, go to a different building, retire, go to a different district, whatever, I have to transfer the ownership of all of those things to somebody else who is staying. So there's kind of this ownership issue that you have to deal with when you are sharing folders. When it comes to something small, not a big deal. I still say use your folders and share them like I've shown you in this video. But when it comes to large amounts of information or large amounts of information that are shared with a large amount of people, using a team drive is the best way to go. I've seen team drives created at grade levels. I've created team drives just for technology. And obviously we all have been using either the high school or the elementary team drive. The nice thing about a team drive is that it is not owned by one particular person. It is owned by the domain, by the district. But we still have all the features to manage it, to edit it, to put things in, to take things out. But when somebody leaves or retires or whatever, just because they are gone and their account maybe is closed, the items even that they created will remain in the team drive. And when new people come in, you simply add that person to the drive, and then they automatically have access to everything. You don't have to go back through and try to share everything like you would with a shared folder. And that's kind of what this infographic is about. It gives a little explanation about what is a team drive, why would you use it, so no more issues with file sharing, no losing file when somebody leaves. Team drives, to me, are a mirror image of building share and staff share, except it's not on the server. So if the server crashes, we know that we can have problems recouping our files, but using a team drive, having it stored with Google in the cloud, it is backed up and secure. This infographic also goes over how to create a team drive. How does it differ from your drive? You will see in your drive, on the left-hand side, my drive, and then underneath it is your team drive. So you can be a part of multiple team drives and have permissions managed for all of the people that are in there. So when I go to the MES team drive, up here at the top, I can see I can add members, manage members, email members. Here's my settings. There's an option to change themes. I don't want to go into a whole tutorial on team drives, but we do see for MES team drives, we have all of these settings in here. And then also, when I go to manage members, I can see that all of these people are set as managers. There are different levels of permission. For us here at school, we've chosen to leave everybody as manager because we want people to be able to manage all the content, make copies, get things, whatever. You can set somebody just as a viewer. So there's a whole slew of settings that you can choose from. When thinking of this as building share or staff share, remember how whatever you edit in this team drive, it will edit it for everybody that's a member. So if you need a copy of something for yourself to edit, make a copy first. Right click on the item, make a copy. You'll see it populate in here. So here's my copy, and I'm going to drag it over and I'm going to put it in my drive, and it will give you a warning. Moving files out of team drive changes access and ownership. So I'm taking it out. Nobody's going to see it anymore. That's fine. Just keep that in mind when you're manipulating different documents and folders in here. If you make a copy of something, take that copy with you, or know that when you edit something, it will be edited for everyone. Okay. This infographic continues to go through team drive membership rights, helpful tips, and then do's and don'ts for using team drive. So this isn't something, like I've said, that you're going to create just for the sole purpose of sharing a couple small things. Okay, this is for departments or grade level teams, kind of on a bigger scale. And as always, if you have questions on using team drives, if you have questions on using the share settings in Google, please shoot me an email. Let me know a time that works for you. We can get together. I am more than happy to go over this in person, one-on-one, with departments, with grade levels, whatever you need, because like I said, I know that if you're not using these share settings on a regular basis, they can be confusing. And I hope this video was something that helped you understand it a little bit better.